Is that going to continue here over on Villa?
One thing I actually find really interesting about this game, here's a fun little snippet. So Souls, who's on FaZe Clan, he actually used to be on the same team as Hunter and Rise from Santos. They were on Team Singularity together in Pro League Season 11. They came 7th in the entire region. Now, after that, Souls went into MIBR and Hunter and Rise went down into the Liga 6, which means this is the first time that they have played each other since they were on the same team as Singularity. So this is almost like a reunion here, and it means there's something a bit more personal because you've got ex-teammates playing against each other. So I just thought that was a cute little thing about this game, and that maybe a lot of people didn't necessarily know there was that connection between these two teams.
Always good to get a little bit of rivalry thrown in the mix as well, especially when it's teams and players that used to play together in certain instances. So let's see if any sort of knowledge potentially could be exchanged between those guys. Bans fairly standard. So we have Thatcher, Nomad, Valkyrie, and the Goyo. Nothing really to write home about there in terms of the bans. Everything coming as we would expect. Obviously, Goyo shields just provide so much value here on Villa. It isn't someone that we see banned that much, but if you get yourself onto Villa, those Vulcan shields can be a huge pain.
Yeah, as you say, because it's been banned out, we won't be seeing any of that. But we will have a couple of shields on the defensive side because Alibi came along and she can provide that second one. Wouldn't be too surprised to see that placed somewhere at the top of the main stairs, or actually that's where Smoke's going to put his instead. Either way, they may play a Prisma behind that to help with the main stairs control, something which, once it's foregone or wrenched away from the defenders in the more likely instance, can really give the attackers a lot of space to move in, particularly towards bar. That and study are the really important places to gain control of if you are making a south side push, which it looks like Santos are going to be doing as they are spawning down in the south. Sometimes you do get teams who like to attack in from master, which is why you oftentimes have a setup up on the north side, which is what we're seeing FaZe do as well. There are the reinforcements on the statuary wall, as well as the Prisma and the shield and the mute jammers up in that area as well. So that'll make it all the harder for Santos to push in through these multiple directions regardless.
The drone work now going ahead for Rise. He's actually got the DMR there on the Lion. That's something you see all the time, as typically you would expect the standard assault rifle, but kills will start to come in regardless. Cyber seems like he doesn't care for EE1Ds and instead will find himself 2 kills as he takes down Destiny and Hunter. Cons has had a huge chunk of damage dealt to him as well as another E1D comes in to try and do something to shut down Cyber, but he does not seem phased one little bit. Cons still desperately holding on to the rotation, and Cyber saying, guys, you're not making enough holes in these walls. I want to see you. I want to peek onto this.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the study wall soft, which gives them those angles and allows Cyber to get kills like that straight onto Cons and leaving the diffuser lying cold in study. He knows that the study window is going to be burst open. He gets that kill onto STK, and now it's just Rise. They can hunt him down. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter if Rise gets a kill onto Bullet or not, because they're still in that advantage. It could end up coming back to bite them if Rise gets another kill onto either Cameraman or Cyber, but so far nothing about their performance really suggests that that's going to happen. He uses his E1D to try and hunt them out. That's the last one he had in pocket, but they're just going to stay still. They don't have any reason to be pressured out of a still situation. And Rise is just going to head on towards the site.
Rise pushes in and Cyber, he gets himself a little cheeky ace. He was holding the angle from the outside of, sorry, the inside of games. Look at the narrow angles that this man's working with. He knew that Rise was going to be coming through there, but it is impressive nonetheless. Ace in round number 1 really starts to set a little bit of a tone, Gio.
Yeah, that's certainly one way to kick off the game. I mean, when Cyber got the first kill onto Destiny down below in the lobby, I was just so confused because it looked almost like, you know, when you see a plat playing in like a silver game, right? Because Destiny looked a little bit lost and not really at the utmost potential of his spatial awareness, let's say. He was just kind of trundling on through, and it didn't look like a particularly hard to acquire kill. But Cyber kept the tear on, and at every point, Santos were kind of broadcasting what they wanted to do, especially, you know, that jump in through the study window. I mean, Cyber knew exactly what was about to happen. The diffuser had just dropped cold. All he had to do was look at the window. I don't really know what Santos were expecting at that point, knowing that there was still this guy playing top main stairs. Or maybe they didn't know, which then leads you to question where their information is coming from and what their drones look like. Either way, that was really around for FaZe to make it look quite easy, and Santos need to step it up to bite back.
Defender-sided map, so it is to be expected that rounds will go to the defenders more often than the attackers, but it isn't expected that Cyber is just going to waltz his way on through and pick up an ace in round number 1. It really does sort of mark down a stamp of authority here towards Santos and just lets them know who they are going up against. FaZe are looking very, very hot at the minute. While Santos aren't freezing cold, they're not exactly on the same level, certainly if you look toward the leaderboards and the standings. So this is really an opportunity for them to prove themselves a little bit more than maybe they have been able to in the previous games, and just say, look, you know, we can hang with a team like FaZe. We're going to come in and we're going to try and take a couple of rounds. So far, it seems as though we've seen one of the slower starts to a round, as we've got a bit of an idea of where these defenders are, but the attackers are kind of eluding us for the time being. I think they're potentially even on the roof at the moment, just juggling that diffuser around on the west side.
Well, there's quite a few over there on the west, yeah, as you mentioned. Maybe looking to jump in through the head's window. You can tell that Souls was peeking over towards that way. Cyber, who had such a good round last round, will be the first one to fall this time. STK ensuring he is well and truly off the board. But still, Santos haven't made much more of a move as far as actually entering the building goes. There's quite a strong defense over towards the master side because of the Aruni gates. Hunter getting a second kill onto Cameraman, so Santos really have said that they want to up their ante here. And of course, we saw some basement play, so I'm sure you're very happy.
A bit of basement never hurts anybody. Well, it usually does hurt the attackers, but still, Souls are going to take a huge chunk of damage as yet again another E1D comes in. It's something that Santos are leaning heavily into here, but I'm not sure how much value it is providing, as FaZe usually know that there's a push coming very soon after and can be quite ready for it. Astro going for a nice rotation, finding an alternate line, but gets cut down. Bullet now left in a pretty tough situation. 5 versus 1. A lot of low hit point players on the side of Santos, but none not low enough to die. And a perfect round for Santos. They've responded to Cyber's ace.
Yeah, I have to say, I like this. I wanted to see some scrappiness come back. I want this to be a game that FaZe Clan didn't necessarily see coming. Santos, despite being in the bottom 4 still here in Brazil, have been a team that have really showed some promise in the games that they have played so far, and there is no better blank canvas to practice that out on than going up against FaZe Clan. So the fact that they can respond to that first round with the ace, with their own flawless round, really says something, because oftentimes it takes a couple of rounds for the team that is at the disadvantage in the matchup to kind of catch up a little bit. And I think, and you know, feel free to tell me if you disagree, but I think the fact that they did that on a secondary site is all the more impressive, because that's a site where, as a defender, you don't really have much of an excuse to not do it well. I think usually when you see a disadvantaged team get their claws in, it's oftentimes on a tertiary site, because that's where the defenders are less likely to be feeling super comfortable. The fact that happened on Trophy Statuary, when FaZe Clan actually had a fairly robust defense, that speaks more volumes to me.
I think the other thing that speaks quite loudly, and I agree with what you're saying there, Gio, is that we've seen an ace from Cyber, but we haven't seen anything from anyone else on the side of FaZe. Now, if Cyber's just having one of those days where he's going to pop off, that's great, but we kind of need to see something from the rest of the guys, because they've had, you know, obviously contributions in terms of site setup, and as defenders, you contribute in many, many more ways than just kills, but you've got to start saying, right, we need to start seeing something now, because Santos have come in with a flawless round of their own, and so far we've had, you know, a very sort of kill light game, or a kill heavy game, should I say, onto one or two individuals, and we don't really know where we're at in this fixture. So this round, an opportunity to sort of answer that question a little bit for us, and to just let us know that, yeah, some of the players on FaZe, they just had a dodgy first couple of rounds in the back, or, yeah, you know, Santos, they're looking absolutely unstoppable.
Well, this next site is Kitchen, and this is where you are very likely, of course, to see more of a vertical approach from the attackers. Astro's getting a little bit antsy and impatient, waiting for someone to show themselves at the pantry window. Instead, he's decided to go back up into pantry itself, but already the gunfights are ablazing. With Souls and Cons the first two to fall, that puts it in a 4 versus 4.
Soul's a big loss as well. He's been such a solid player for FaZe throughout the course of this stage. Certainly very highly rated, but it doesn't seem to be bothering FaZe all too much, as Bullet and Astro have stepped themselves up to the plate. Rise are going to trade there over onto Bullet, still running with that DMR, and it's obviously going to hamper him a little bit when he's looking to peak these close quarters engagements, as you've just not got the same fire rate that you would do if you were running with the assault rifle. Time continues to tick down now. We see utility getting pushed on in. I don't think that there's anything really stopping Rise from going for a push, but he's just going to wait for another E1D, as he is now the last man standing, and really could have done to have worked a little bit better with his team. What was that for recoil control, Rise? You got to check yourself, son. You're in BR6 here. That is not going to cut it.
Yeah, maybe not the best. And that did seem a bit messy from Santos, because it wasn't necessarily the most orthodox push, I don't think. Usually you're way more likely to see the quite methodical upstairs push. You open up a lot of the floor, you spend around the first half of the round doing that, taking the vertical control. Maybe you get a pick, maybe you get 2 from above. At the very least, clear out the utility down below. I mean, even that shield at the end, that was removed very late on by Rise, who was quite happy to sit and peek from Laundry without doing anything about that. So that kind of thing wasn't really the priority for Santos in that round. And it meant that everybody was quite separate, able to be taken advantage of. And when you're left, this is one of those things. It's kind of okay if your approach is to not necessarily clear a ton of utility, but there's still 5 of you alive, so you can take advantage of a situation. But the problem with not clearing utility early is that when there are no longer 5 of you alive, it gets exponentially more difficult to deal with when there's only a couple of people left, or even only just one person left, as we saw with Rise just then. So you are kind of facilitating a much easier defensive setup for the defenders in the late round by not removing those things early. And that's something that Santos haven't done on any of their rounds, really, so far. They haven't prioritized that kind of thing. And I think that's something I would like to see change, because even if they can do well in gunfights like they did in round number 2, it's not enough.
Yeah, it isn't going to be a game that you can just start to out-frag FaZe on, because they've always got someone that can step up in a different way, particularly when you're dealing with them on defense. There is just too much at their disposal in terms of utility and gadgetry to try and stem the flow that way. Instead, you've got to look to try and remove key players, and someone like Cyber playing at the top of these main stairs is going to be someone that ought to be on your list. Santos appear to be going for a bit of a study-sided push this time, as we've kind of seen them do similar previously, and we all really know how round 1 went. It was an ace for Cyber, so I'd like to see them push a little bit more from the north side and get a bit of control of that master bedroom area. For the time being, the net is tightening. Pressure coming in on the 90 corridor window. and the push establishing itself through study.
Bullet is still holding on to this 90 control. And you saw the Toxic Babe canister come out, which is going to hold that player on the rappel back. Flash grenades come in, but he can easily hide from that. Out goes the C4, and that's a nice kill straight onto Rise as other kills start to rain in around the map. That puts it in a 3 versus 3 at this point, and we're halfway through the round. This is quite early to have lost so many men.
Certainly not ideal for either side. I think the advantage is relatively neutral. Could weigh a little bit heavy on the side of FaZe in the fact that they have the utility. And we've got Cyber, who is landing shots. Hunter, he gets chunked down very low indeed. A second comes through as well. Cons gets caught in no man's land. Last player at the bottom of these main stairs is going to be STK. And he gets the turn and burn over onto Cyber. But is it going to be enough? Looking to try and get himself some smoke and give himself a moment to breathe, but can't seem to move for sheer utility from this FaZe team. The diffuser's cold inside a study. It seems as though his location is known, and Soul says, knock, knock, who's there? Through the wall with the shotgun.
I'm a bit confused about his decision to throw out a smoke when the ADS was right next to him, just to have the smoke be eaten up by the ADS. I mean, it's next to you. There's nothing stopping you from getting rid of it. But I suppose we always have to take into account the heat of the moment. And when you're the last guy remaining, there is pressurizing things. But it's always a bit funny when you see things like that happen. Honestly, if I had to give Santos one piece of advice for their AVG pushes, I would say, please clear main stairs first. And this is why, you know, even going back to watching a team like TSM, let's say. It's not exclusive to TSM by any stretch of the imagination, but theirs is just an example I can think of off the top of my head. You will see when they're attacking onto this site, which I refer to as AVG, that's kind of the colloquialism, but Aviator in games, they will spend so much time clearing out main stairs first and ensuring that that is definitely clear before they move on to the next part. And sometimes you'll have more than one person whose job it will be to do that. And they'll be stationed to be doing it from below. They'll clear out the utility that is there. They will clear out the player that is there. That is the second round that Santos have attacked onto that site and not done that. Cyber has been left perfectly free to do as he wishes from there. Not even have the shield cleared from in front of him. You could see them yellow pinging the study window. They know that you're there. You can't play there when he's been left up. And when they still have 90 control as well, oh my goodness, this is an early C4.
The old classic run out C4. Cameraman flexing his skills there. A little hop out of the window. The C4 over one of the outbuildings. It's one of the more niche ones. You sometimes see it, you know, run out attempts of this little closet window. But still, a C4 is a C4 and onto a Zephyr. Ooh, important stuff.
I loved your little, ooh, important stuff. You sounded a bit excited then.
It is. It's very important stuff. Look at the soft breach now. It's significantly diminished, especially with the sort of stuff that we're seeing being brought on the side of FaZe. Like, just think of those lifelines and the Aruni gates. Like, that's enough in its own.
Yep. And actually seeing Destiny take such a ton of damage as he did just then as well just makes you kind of sweaty palms a little bit, because that's the next soft breach that you want to have, and now you don't anymore because he's taken straight down Hunter as well. So nades as two. Just all of the ability to clear any utility off the board, but I don't think that's even Santos' priority anymore. Once again, Rise is the last man standing.
It really seems like FaZe have turned it on slowly round by round, and it's almost like Cyber didn't get the memo in round number 1 that they needed to just ease into this because he started things with the ace. But ever since every single round that's gone by, it's just seemed to be, aside from obviously round 2 when Santos were able to win, it's just been increasingly more difficult here for Santos, and that was always going to be a flawless round. We're seeing the Lion being brought again, and I really feel like the Lion is just a big announcement to say, knock knock, we're coming. Like, you need to, you know, start looking lively because we're going to start, you know, we're going to start our push. And that really seems to be how FaZe are treating it at the moment. It's working really well for in their favor.
What it says to me is that Santos don't feel comfortable enough in their drone economy and their drone management to get the information that they need just from that. And I think that alone is very concerning, because it is clear, in my opinion, that the Lion is a detriment. Not because the Lion itself is a problem, but because it means you can't bring along another operator who could be more useful. And so if you're willing to forego another operator who could be more useful in favor of bringing Lion, then you must feel quite strongly about how much you need the information that's provided by the E1D. And immediately to me that says you need to drone better. Because if you've got better flank drones, if you've got better pre-placed drones that aren't being shot and that aren't being caught out, you should be able to gather that information as it is and have the information you need about the whereabouts of FaZe Clan. Because even bringing the Lion has not really done Santos many favors. They've won 1 round in 5. It's not enough.
Yeah, the Lion is always a crutch, however it's used. Now, it can be used in conjunction with like a really effective clear, and the drones are used to gather the intel, and the Lion's used to secure, ensure that the defender doesn't move, and that's how you get the kill. But I agree. I just think that the Lion in this instance is saying, we're struggling on droning, and we're also, wanting to announce when we're making our push so that you can kill us a little bit quicker and get us out of this game, because that really seems to be how it's going. STK is caught on camera there. The camera was flashing blue, and he's still waltzing his way up main stairs now, desperately trying to get himself out. Is the IQ. He needs to try and search out some of this utility. He's got a cameraman there to go and find with cardiac sensor probably pressed to some sort of wall or ceiling to try and figure out where these guys are coming from.
I find it actually really interesting that Santos have decided to bring along the IQ because, presumably they want to look out for things like yokai drones. The Valkyrie's been banned out, so it's not that they're looking for black eyes. And again, it's something that they think is a detriment or working against them enough to the extent that they've got to bring an IQ. And the reason IQ is super risky at the moment is because she doesn't bring things like frag grenades. So her secondary utility isn't that great. Another C4 coming out from FaZe Clan to claim the first kill. And STK can trade back round, but it doesn't stop the fact it happened in the first place. Cyber just narrowly missing out on a kill, and he'll be taken down for the trouble as Rise is there to collect him.
Rise making the DMR pay there, but what is the cost on the round as a whole? It's a small response to what has for otherwise been quite a dominant round here for FaZe. Soul's Bullet and Cameraman still up, and they've still got quite a lot of layers to peel back to before they even start worrying about the site. I'm not sure if we've seen any vertical pressure here from the side of Santos, as I don't think they've gotten themselves upstairs to try and really challenge onto those vertical angles. It's got some people playing on the stairs, but there is nothing too significant. STK finds himself down for the count. Cameraman's made a rotation and gotten himself to within a hair's breadth of the site. He can now just look to try and gather information, make sure no one is coming up from the basement below, and try and figure out where everyone else is. Souls with a beautiful wallbang over onto Rise. Some information paying dividends, and the second as well. Somebody kill that yokai drone. Souls there. He's almost Z-pinging for himself.
God damn, man knows exactly where he's shooting into. And FaZe looking incredibly dominant as they finish the first half on a 5-1 split. Now, a lot of Santos's attacks looked a bit tentative and not necessarily the most well-coordinated or thought out or put together. That could change on the defense. We spoke about it in the last game, in fact, about how defense typically seen as a bit easier purely because of the way that coordination and the application of it is not quite as difficult as it is on attack. That said, FaZe Clan, they've proven to us that they really like their creative attacks. And actually, the fact that they've 6-picked onto the Amaru adds on to that for me. FaZe Clan were not shy of doing some really creative attacks on the Consulate game that we saw them play against NIP. And I have to say, if I am guessing where this Amaru is going to be used, I would assume the 90 window. I don't know if you have a different idea, maybe. I suppose it could be on any of them.
Can I say it's going to be used to get kills, or at least try to? Like, I want to see the Amaru just yeeting it through 90 window or through some window and getting right in amongst the action straight away, because that's where you want it to be. You don't want to see this being used to, like, get up onto a balcony or a roof or something.
Oh no,
like
come
that.
on, that's
like,
boring.
You want to see some.
Get up, go through a window. You coward.
Yeah, get some quick fire action here. We've got Astro's POV, so we might actually get to see it. Looks as though we could. Well, you could be right, Joe, in the 90 assumption, as that's the window that he's going to be near. Thinks about it. You can see him thinking about it, but no. And the moment's now passed for me.
Yeah, what
the moment
hell,
for it
dude?
is now gone.
You're letting us down. No, clearly, I don't know. You don't know what's going on in the comms, which I think is the important thing here, is they could decide that there's something more important that they need to do. Whatever it might be. So we're not privy to that information, but at the very least, he was considering the 90 window, right? Which I'll take a fraction of a point for that.
Yeah, you know, I mean, and this is why we're not pros either, you know. Astro isn't sat there going, yeah, I just want to yeet through 90 window and get in there. No, he's going, I want to win this game. Like, you know, let's look at it as the bigger picture. We're round 5, but we're 5 versus 1. They're on defense. There's a chance that they're going to be able to get something and make it stick here for 4 rounds in a row and to level things up. And you don't want to be the one that was using Amaru through a window to sort of be a finger that can be pointed at a later date. That's not somewhere that you really want to be. For all the jokes and conversation that we've had, Gio, it does seem, though, that FaZe are moving very slowly here.
Ooh. I was about to be like, yeah, you know, we've seen them do that sometimes, and, you know, blah, 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 and then the cameraman just meets his fate. I actually wonder if maybe they thought that was a Gemini and it just turned out to be the real deal. Either way, they are taking control downstairs. You know... Oh, nice kill from Bullet, I suppose. I was gonna say how, you know, this is where you might see a butt get used to open up above. Clearly can't do that with a sledge. What they are looking to do is get this hatch available, maybe so that Astro can use it, and he killed STK with the nade. I think what he was really going for was actually to end the electrification that had been placed on it, which is still present.
Still something that could do with being dealt with, as Cons is be holding it fairly tight. Hunter with a beautiful angle there over onto Cyber. And you can play these stairs, but I can play them as well. The punishment coming through both ways there, as Hunter now looking to get aggressive, maybe onto this doorway as well. He has just seen Cons fall there. Can't really get himself too well embroiled. He is 1 versus 2 now. He's going to make the impact rotation, but Bullet with the cover. Plant was going down. It was going to be difficult. Hunter, his decision making was good in the moment. Bit of intel here, or a nice little sight line, I should say, from Bullet. We'll see FaZe confirm that match point.
This is all they need now. One last round before they take this game for themselves. And I think so far, you know, this is sort of a nice little cool down from the last game that FaZe Clan played, which is against NIP on Consulate, which was very sweaty, went all the way, was an absolutely wild game. And so this probably feels a lot different to that. And it's kind of a shame, because Santos looked pretty good back on round number 2, and I thought, yeah, they're going to be able to bite back, they're going to turn this on. And they just haven't since then. And on defense, it's not looked significantly better either. Obviously, they'll be moving on to another site now, as they decide it's not worth the risk to return back to that same defense that they just lost. Nothing too wild in terms of the defensive setup. I mean, it's kind of standard. They seem to like playing the Mozzie. We've seen a bit of that already today. You know, Astro bringing along the Twitch this time instead of the Amaru. That can be used to remove some of the utility, maybe mute jammers or what have you. But it's not like there's going to be an Electro Claw or anything like that they'll really have to get rid of from that perspective.
No, I don't think that there's anything that FaZe are going to be too concerned about here. They've not really looked pushed or stretched in this game at all so far from Santos, and it's kind of in counter to, you know, the storyline that we were looking to build at the start of this, where we thought that Santos had it in them to take a couple of rounds. They've really been, you know, shown up for being of a different class of FaZe this time, and I think it all just comes down to this sort of teamwork that we see regularly from them, and that clutch factor that they've also got within them as well. You can just see already the teamwork there, Bullet and Cameraman working really nicely together, drones coming in, everything, you know, singing in the same direction. As I say that though, Destiny and STK get a nice couple of openers, one onto Astro and one onto Souls. It's going to be the entirety of the hard breach potential gone on the side of FaZe. Quite an early loss, quite early on.
I would say that that's at least partially redemption from Santos. It opens up the opportunity for them to get full redemption on this round, but they do have a way to go if they are to get the full redemption on the overall game, because they've got 5 rounds to win in a row in order to catch up and take FaZe into overtime. But FaZe aren't going to be rushing anything. And I mean, there's a ton of time left. They now know they have to go forth without Astro and Souls. Just opening up where you might oftentimes find a rotate into games. And Cyber gets another nade onto STK. Was it Cyber who got the last one in that last round as well? That's really dirty. STK shouldn't be consistently falling to these, and yet he is.
Yeah, you've got to ask the question, at what point do you need to start bringing something else? At what point do you need the Aruni? At what point do you question these, you know, ADS placements? But again, it comes down to the information exchange that's on the side of FaZe, and the info that's going out on the drone, telling people where utility is and clearing it out, and everything working ahead of those nades coming in. It just makes everything fall into place that bit more easily. Now, the biggest problem that FaZe have got at the minute, at least, is that the diffuser, well, it isn't in the best location. We can see where it is on the map there. Cameraman's looking to Gemini drone out and just make sure everything is clear. But I'm not sure if it's going to be successfully recovered. I believe that Santos are actually watching that diffuser, as Cyber's going to go for a slow swing. Oh, a beautiful shot will ensue, but it does leave him in a tough spot. Is he going to end the game the same way that he started it? He's certainly got the potential. Oh, he finds the down. All he's got to do is find one more kill. Where is this final player? Hunter is going to be running for his dear life, as it was almost a back, well, almost an ace at the start and an ace at the finish for Cyber.
Oh man, Cyber just injected the endorphins at the end there and decided to do a whole round's work in the space of about 6 seconds. Disappointing for him that he wasn't able to complete it out, and it does keep Santos in the game, which I'm sure they're going to be incredibly grateful for. But it wasn't even necessary, like, they did a ton of really impressive stuff. They got some useful kills, and those first 2 opening kills were the important ones, especially bringing down Souls, who was playing ace. That makes you very limited on what you're going to do on the attack. And it really meant that FaZe Clan kind of had to rely upon getting frags, but they kind of hung around, didn't do anything too drastic for a lot of that round. And that worked in Santos' favor, because it meant that they could, you know, just kind of play as they were. That's not something I don't think that is going to be relied upon every round. You can't always guarantee or rely that you're going to bring down, for example, the hard breacher first in every single round. It's not anything that was consistent strategy-wise. It's not something you can turn around and say, yes, this is an inherent part of the Santos playstyle. It was partially luck. And not to say that Santos getting good kills is lucky. These are talented players, and they certainly have what it takes to get the required kills. But it is a case of, we got the right guy at the right time, and that really shut down a lot of that push. When you got 4 more rounds to go before you can even hope to win this game, that is a big thing to rely upon.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, FaZe have got multiple opportunities here now to try and finish this game and get it closed out. They are on that match point. But the longer that Santos can sort of threaten that, and the longer that they can keep them at bay, it kind of speaks to, you know, where we were going with this all in the first place, and that is that Santos do tend to take the teams that are, you know, above them in the leaderboard to a merry dance, and they have got that potential to bring some rounds off them. Now, they didn't do that today on attack, and I don't, you know, there's nothing that we can go do and change that. Santos came out at 5-1 after their attacking phase, and that isn't great. But here on the defense on Villa, they have to come up with something. If they can just find a bit of surety in the sites that they're looking to defend onto, it's not going to take them long. You know, one rotation would see them, you know, at that sort of dangerous 6-4 area, and that's where things really start to get scary, especially for the team that's on the 6, because you start thinking, well, where do we go now to try it and get around? But there's a little bit that's got to happen between us and getting ourselves there. Maybe I'm getting a bit too ahead of myself, but I do get excited at the prospect, Gio, of a bit of a comeback.
I mean, I always love a cheeky comeback, and I love seeing the story and the momentum swing, because FaZe Clan have this expectation at this point in the league that they are going to be one of the top teams. Cyber's going to be opening up with that first kill, so maybe this is a round that's going to swing back in their favor. Hunter is looking for that player outside the window, but decides to retreat. This is a really early attempt at the plun. It gets completely shut down from Cons as well, so Santos could bring the momentum back in their favor.
Well, the diffuser is now in the middle of nowhere. Absolute no man's land. Middle of B-bomb site. How do FaZe go about trying to recover this? Cyrus found a kill onto STK, so the players remaining for the side of Santos are few. We only have Cons and Destiny. And it's kind of like FaZe is sort of still defending this post plant, but the diffuser isn't down. They're going to send the Gemini in to get a bit of intel, and that's going to provide everything that Astro needs for a swing over onto Destiny. Now the diffuser can be recovered, and poor old Cons has it all to do. He's not going to anticipate the player pro. Nobody ever does. Bullet locks the final kill, and FaZe, they take Villa.
What a peculiar game. It really felt like when one team was doing well, the other really wasn't, and it was constantly switching back and forth. You had such outstanding shows of power from teams in various rounds, and then suddenly they would look completely different, meek and timid in the following. Just bizarre, but the scoreline says it all. FaZe Clan still definitely that top team here in Brazil, and Santos have got a way to go before they're going to be able to show up again.